Ladies and gentlemen, we've possibly got some leaks here that could indicate what's actually coming at BlizzCon this year for Overwatch. Now, remember, this is a leak coverage video. These leaks could be made up, but there is a little bit of evidence which does indicate that maybe these are not actually totally made up. They're not some 4chan level leak. It could actually be solid information. Alright guys, let's check this out. So this is from Metro_OW, so Metro Overwatch on Twitter. Go and check him out. There's a link to the description to his Twitter. But what we're going to look at here is a series of tweets that he's made, and we're going to try and work out if this could actually be what happens when we get to BlizzCon, because we know that this has to be a huge year for Overwatch, because if it's not, there's going to be a huge problem, because, well, I mean, the game's getting a little bit stale right now. What have the devs been doing for the last 2 years? All these questions we've got going around in our heads, and we want some solid answers, and we want to see an absolute ton of content. Alright, let's take a look at this. So the first tweet we've got is this, and Metro says, "You know what would be funny? If the new Overwatch short that they show at BlizzCon would have Mei as one of the main characters and she gets hurt and saved by Genji. Oh wait, that will actually happen." Now that's interesting, right? Obviously, you know, we've got the whole Hong Kong thing going on. Obviously the devs and the cinematic department at Blizzard knew nothing about that when they started working on this stuff, because this would have been worked on for years and years and years. Hopefully, if this is true, this cinematic is actually bit more than a short cinematic, maybe a longer cinematic, because look how many, I mean, the last cinematic we got for Overwatch was at BlizzCon last year for Ash, and then we got nothing. The last couple of years we tended to get maybe a cinematic at Gamescom, then we got at Gamescom even, and then we got one at BlizzCon, so we sort of were running on 2 a year, which was pretty good. So yeah, there's been a few years where there hasn't been the extra cinematic, so maybe that time has gone into this new cinematic. Also, you've got to remember that the Blizzard cinematic department isn't just making videos, well, cinematic videos for Overwatch, it's making them for all of the Blizzard games, and Blizzard does a lot for World of Warcraft and, you know, all of that stuff as well, so you always have to remember that there. It's not like there's just a massive department at Blizzard which just works on Overwatch cinematics, or at least that's my understanding of it. Okay, so this could be true, you know, fair enough, whatever. Alright, we're going to move on to this, and then Metro says, Overwatch 2 is very much real and will be announced at BlizzCon after the short cinematic. Now this is, if this is true, Overwatch 2, it feels like it's a difficult thing to take if that's what's going to happen, because, well, they've just sold the game on Switch for a start. Why would you sell the game then go, oh, actually, here's the, you know, Overwatch 2 comes out? Maybe a bit of a slap in the face. Maybe they don't care. Maybe it's like, oh, it's the end of the Overwatch life cycle. Now we're going to have Overwatch 2. But then I always think about Overwatch League, and I'm like, surely the game can't really change. So this is where I keep coming back to the idea of it's probably Overwatch 2.0, not Overwatch 2. Maybe they update the graphics engine so they can do PvE stuff, and we basically, think of it this way, we uninstall Overwatch but then reinstall it again, and it's still called Overwatch, but this time it's got all PvE stuff, it's got maybe more PvP, and then it's got like an enhanced graphics engine or something, so it maybe looks slightly better. I don't know, maybe that's what they do. Interesting stuff. So Metro then goes on to say Overwatch 2 will be PvE and PvP. Now again, like I said, these are, you know, this is a leak, potentially a leak. We can't verify this. It's just, you know, Metro talking on Twitter. But this would be interesting, right? Instead of it just being what everyone kind of expected, which was just, yeah, it's going to be a PvE expansion, maybe it does introduce new PvP game modes, and I think that would be actually huge, because, well, when was the last time we got a new PvP game mode? Well, I suppose technically you could say, well, we got one with the 3v3, the elimination stuff, and the 1v1 and that stuff, but really that's not really what Overwatch is about. I mean, okay, it's a fun game mode to play, but it's not the full-on 6v6 comp mode. So I would like to see new game modes, because I would really like to not ever play 2CP ever again, Blizzard. And if you can give me more game modes, which means I don't have to play that, then I'm fine. Although I do like watching it at Overwatch League, I will say that. Alright, let's move on. So Metro then says, for anyone who cares, Diablo 4 and Diablo 2 Remastered will also be announced at BlizzCon. Now, this is something a lot of people have been talking about. Now, you could argue that maybe Metro's just doing this to be like, give myself a little bit of validity to my claims. It's like, oh yeah, I'll make all these claims, then go, oh, by the way, this is coming out as well. Well, I think a lot of people kind of know this is coming out. I mean, it's not certain, it's not set in stone, but it's one of those things people have been talking about for a while. And you think about the Diablo Immortal fiasco, they kind of need to do something, right, to fix a Diablo. I mean, they need to launch Diablo 4, but they also need to maybe give us Diablo 2. I'd really like that. Diablo 2 is an amazing game, so to be able to play that again with better graphics would be, I think, actually insane. And also to be able to play it over Battle.net properly. I know you can do it now, but it's an old game and it's a bit janky. So yeah, take this with a pinch of salt, but I think D4 probably going to be there, and then Diablo 2, yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. This is where it gets funky though, because he says Overwatch 2 is going to have a leveling system that is going to affect how you play your hero. That could be super cool. Now, this was, I mean, I was actually talking with the guys from Overwatch Central, and we were talking about, you know, what would we like to see in a PvE mode. We were throwing crazy ideas out, like I was saying. You know, imagine if it was like a full-on, like they give us a massive world. It's sort of like Destiny. There's loads of dungeons, instances, missions you can run, but then there's a full like item system. There's like a massive talent tree system. There's all of this stuff. So basically, you could play in this world and ignore the PvP aspect of Overwatch altogether. That to me would be incredible. If this leak is to be believed, we're not going to get that, because Metro does go on to say that there's not any items or anything like that, but having a leveling system could still be cool, because when you're running through, I don't know, the missions, for example. In fact, to bring this back to a Diablo comparison, Diablo has a thing called rifts and greater rifts, and the way they work is you go into the instance, randomly generated, and you keep going through them. So as you complete them, they get more harder, well, more difficult, more difficult, more difficult, and then you get better rewards. But of course, if there's no loot reward, why would you have that in Overwatch? So you have all these things going against each other, and we are just going around in a circle, sort of like, what are we going to get at BlizzCon? Will it be this? Will it be that? But this could be cool. A leveling system in the game could be really, really cool, because it would let you alter your abilities, right? So before we carry on, can we actually believe Metro? Well, this is the thing, right? Yes, okay, it's leaks on Twitter. We don't exactly know the source. But what we can say about Metro is, if you read this tweet here, and I'll show you another one in a second, Metro says, if you are not convinced about the Twitter post from a year back, you can even go back 12 months in my Twitch clips to see me talk about all of Ash's abilities a week before BlizzCon. I have no reason to doubt my sources after last year. If I'm still wrong, F me, I guess. And this, well, this was the tweet from last year, where he basically says, Ash, 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 Ash. And you guys can see the date. That is before BlizzCon. Why would he spam that? I mean, he spelled Ash wrong, but then, you know, somebody told me, oh yeah, it's going to be Ash. I wouldn't necessarily put the E on the end. So maybe, you know, there is a bit of, I think it's called Providence, isn't it? When you've got like a fancy, like a relic from the past, I've got some Providence, so it's lovely, it must be worth some money. So he's actually got a bit of validity there to his claim. So maybe we can believe what he says, but it's still cool to cover and sort of work out what's going on. Metro then says, for example, there will be an upgrade/change to Tracer's Pulse Bomb that makes it so if you stick an opponent, all units close to the target that got stuck will be stuck with a Pulse Bomb. Now, when you read that out, that sounds ridiculously OP in a PvP environment. But if you throw that into PvE, all of a sudden, that's not really that ridiculous. That's like, okay, that's pretty cool. I think back to Uprising. I remember when Uprising came out, that was a massive thing. We couldn't believe it. We're like, wow, this is huge. Of course, before that, we got Junkenstein's Revenge, which did show us that there was some kind of PvE that they could do in the game. But when they just straight up come at us and hit us with Uprising, it was like, wow, this is a massive event. But there's things that happen there where if you had abilities that augmented your actual abilities, or experience points or talent points, or something that you could spend, that would be infinitely more replayable. Because for me, that was the most playable PvE event. I think Retribution was really good. Storm Rising was not. I mean, Storm Rising was really sort of a regression of what they've built. But maybe that's because all these guys who built the older stuff have been working on whatever this Overwatch 2, this Overwatch version 2.0, this Overwatch expansion, whatever you want to call it, turns out to be. That could be the case. It's a difficult thing to sort of predict right now. We are getting really close to BlizzCon, so that probably means we may start seeing more of these leaks. Where these leaks come from, I don't know. I think in the past, I remember right back to Sombra when that leaked. There was the image of Sombra in Numbani. That was leaked by somebody in the Q&A department. So I don't think these are necessarily full-time Blizzard employees. They might be, but I think they kind of coming from external companies, or they're on like shorter contracts, and they look at stuff and think, hey, you know, we're testing out, you know, they're quality assurance guys. But then maybe they just think, oh, you know what, stuff it. I'm not going to work here again, so I'm just going to leak everything. Maybe that's what's going on. It is interesting times though. What I want you guys to do in the comments below is let me know what you think about all of this. Do you think Overwatch will be saved at BlizzCon. This is, I mean, it's a huge thing to say, but I hope it does get saved at BlizzCon, because my issue is I'm very much I'm in the Overwatch world, right? I do stuff with Spitfire. I make videos on Overwatch. I play a lot of Overwatch. So for me, it's almost a bit strange for me to say the game needs saving. But when you look at like the average fan, if you look at people who maybe played Overwatch and don't play it anymore, why don't they play it anymore? They probably like the heroes, they probably like the world, but they don't get to experience it. So if you let them experience the world, they'll come back to the game. And that's what the game needs. It does need saving, because I think it's got really stale, and that's the big killer. So, ladies and gentlemen, BlizzCon, it's around the corner. I cannot wait. I will be there. I have no idea what's going on. I've seen people say things like, hey, Sty, you were at the head office in Irvine the other week with the Switch stuff. You must know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I'll tell you what that was like, actually. There was nobody there. Like, they literally emptied the office. We were just in the corner with some press, and there was nobody there. It was like a ghost town. It's because, most likely, they don't want people interacting with us. They want to make sure we don't accidentally see something, because we were in their office. I mean, I'm sure if we just walked around it, we probably would have found things, but they kept us sort of in one area, so we couldn't go anywhere. So yeah, I literally know nothing about the game. I want to be surprised. It's like I said, well, I guess I didn't say this, but when I told you guys earlier in the video, I was talking to the Overwatch Central guys. I'm almost of the mindset of like, just impress me, Blizzard. Like, I'm not going into this BlizzCon mega hyped, like, oh, I hope we get this, I hope we get that. I'm just like, show me, Blizzard, what you got? What have you got? Alright guys, I'm Stylosa, this is Unit Lost. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, remember you can follow me on Twitter, which is @Stylosa. It's also @Stylosa on Instagram. And click the bell if you want to be alerted to when all my videos go live after you sub. And I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. And in fact, if you've got this far in the video, this is going to be a little bit of a random thing. I will be at the Eurogamer Expo, EGX, today from 1 till 3 o'clock at the Logitech booth. So if you happen to be going and you've watched this video, get over there. Catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.